You're listening to Emerson Whitner's NXT Report on the Angry Marks Podcast Network.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Emerson Whitner, and this is your NXT audio update for Wednesday, November 4, 2015. First of all, I do want to state that the big news breaking right now, Seth Rollins may be injured. He was carried away from the ring during a WWE live event tonight. I am sure people who know much more about this stuff than I do will keep you up to date. In fact, by the time you listen to this, and the news will probably have already broken with in-depth analysis. So why am I talking about it? Because it literally just broke and I felt like I had to say something about it. That's why. But let's go on to NXT, a show which for the first 25 minutes really stunk. And then it had the best main event on a WWE television show in a long time. It started with the return of Cameron. In case you've forgotten, Cameron is Ariani from Total Divas, former Funkadactyl, once went on national television and said her favorite match was Melina versus Alicia Fox. You know what's not one of her favorite matches of all time? Cameron versus Asuka. Yes, Cameron went one-on-one with Asuka in the opener on NXT this week. I do want to point out that when Cameron fell off the face of the earth for like the last 6, 7, 8 months, she dyed her hair purple, and it was kind of wacky that she dyed her hair the exact same color as her gear, like the exact same purple. Cameron looked like she wanted to be anywhere but in the ring 30 seconds into the match when Asuka snapped off of her Karana and turned it into an armbar so quickly that I don't think she had time to blink in the entire move. Cameron did battle back and broke out her split leg drop, and unlike that time on Raw when she did it, I think, to Naomi, Asuka was on her back, so Cameron didn't look stupid when she demanded a count from the ref. Good news, Asuka kicked out and then proceeded to throw her entire body at the face of Cameron before finishing her off with the Asuka lock, the cross-face chicken wing with body scissors. Carmella was backstage trying to cut a promo to give us the status of Enzo and Big Cass when Dash and Dawson walked in and bragged about taking the boys out. The only thing they're sorry about is they're sorry they didn't take them out sooner, and next week they will get a shot at the Vaudevillains for the NXT Tag Team Championship. I should point out that during the Dusty Rhodes Classic, Dash and Dawson defeated the Vaudevillains during the tournament. However, 2 weeks ago in NXT, Dash and Dawson were defeated by Enzo and Cass. So, yeah, they lost the number one contenders match, but now are having a title shot. But anyway, they left a wheelchair for the Vaudevillains, saying that they will need it after the match next week. Earlier today, Jason Jordan and Chad Gable were backstage and said that they still aren't where they need to be. But Gable made Jordan feel better by pointing out they're still on the way up. Gable referred to them as the world's greatest tag team, but Jordan cut that off and said that he's not allowed to say that. I want to point out Jordan Gable versus Haas and Benjamin would be the greatest tag team match ever, and I hope they make it happen. But instead of that match, you know what we're getting next week? Jason Jordan and Chad Gable made a challenge to the Ascension. Yes, the Ascension will be on NXT next week to face Jordan and Gable. We don't get Haas and Benjamin versus them. We get Connor and Victor. Bull Dempsey wrestled Angelo Dawkins next. Dawkins had his partner Sawyer Fulton in his corner. If you don't remember, Dawkins and Fulton are the team that never gets an entrance and always loses. And so for the first time ever, Angelo Dawkins and Sawyer Fulton came out with music and with a Titantron. And oh boy, was their Titantron bad. There's a bit of a meme going on, or at least it used to go on, with where people took David Flair's horrible WWE Titantron, which was just a lit up video of the words David Flair interspersed with a picture of David and then a picture of his dad Rick looking all disappointed. This Titantron for Dawkins and Fulton was much worse. By the way, Bull Dempsey now has crappy new entrance music, which if you remember his old entrance music, it's not saying much when I can say that it got worse. Dawkins' entire offense consisted of a chin lock. Bull decided it was time to Hulk up and used a series of punches, and then one with Doink's old whoopee cushion where he came off the top rope with a sitting splash. I remember when he showed that move to the contestants on Tough Enough, and I remember saying how Bull has never used that move in his life. Well, now he's using it. I want to point out that when Bull went to the top rope for his finish, Sawyer Fulton ran all the way around the ring and looked like he was going to interfere, but then after running all the way around the ring, he just stopped and watched Bull do the move. Maybe he just wanted a closer look. I don't know. But anyway, Sawyer was upset, so he left the ringside area, leaving Angelo Dawkins behind. And I can't wait for the feud between the tag team that has never won a match ever. Because you know they're going to be so much better off separate than they were together. The Vaudevillains were backstage and quite offended that Dash and Dawson left them a wheelchair. They plan on beating their toughest challenge to date and use this to become one of the greatest teams in NXT history. Crews was sitting in his locker room backstage, Apollo Crews, and next to him on the wall in his locker were a bunch of drawings that children had done. Well, I hope it was children anyway. And it just looked so weird. But anyway, Apollo got up, stared at Finn Balor's championship, which was conveniently hanging right next to where he was sitting, and walked away. Bayley was up next. She accepted the challenge of Blake Murphy and Alexa Bliss to a 6-person tag team match. When this challenge was made, I was so sure that the Vaudevillains were the ones accepting the challenge. Turns out it was much worse than the Vaudevillains. It's the Hype Bros, Zack Ryder and Mojo Rawley. And next week, we are going to get Bayley and the Hype Bros versus Blake Murphy and Alexa Bliss. That is going to be one for the memory banks. Eva Marie returned, because yes, on the same show we had to have the in-ring returns of both Eva Marie and Cameron. I don't know what I did in a prior life to deserve this, but Eva Marie took on a young lady that was not named, so I went to the front page of AngryMarks.com, clicked on today's update, and read the spoiler-free listing where our good friend and El Presidente of Angry Marks, Stevie J, had the spoiler-free listing Eva Marie's opponent as Marley. Yes, like Marley and Me. I'll avoid making any bad jokes about Marley and Me. This match was a whole lot better when Marley was on offense, and it fell off a bloody cliff when she wasn't. Marley at one point kicked Eva right in the face, and Eva may not have learned much about wrestling, but she's learned what a receipt is, because Eva then got up and kicked her right in the frickin' face. Marley was on her knees, and Eva gave her a running STO for the win. It did not look like that should ever have, hurt Marley, since she was like a foot off the mat when it happened, but oh well. Emma stated that she's not scared of Asuka, instead stating that she doesn't respect Asuka for the way that she smiled at her. And Dana Brooke was also there, saying that they have nothing but respect for Asuka, but they were quite offended by the way that Asuka patted Dana on top of her head. Who does such a thing, they wondered. But either way, Emma said that she will give Asuka a proper welcome. And that led to the main event. And folks, like I said, if you watch this week's NXT, skip everything up to this point. As soon as the promo with Emma and Dana Brooke is over, actually, you can watch the Emma-Dana Brooke promo, and then the main event. A 4+ star NXT title match with Finn Balor defending the belt against Apollo Crews. They did the big main event intros, the Michael Buffer intros, but this time they turned off all the lights in the arena except for a blue spotlight in the middle of the ring where only champion and challenger stood. This is Balor's first televised defense since NXT TakeOver Brooklyn, but in the meantime, of course, him and Joe won the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, and Apollo Crews has been undefeated since debuting in Brooklyn. This match, these two men did not mind hitting each other. Crews began the match by taking it right to Finn, hitting just about every big move he knows in the first 2 minutes of the match, but then he ran right into the bottom of Finn's foot, which slowed him down a little bit. Crews then tried to come back with a sunset flip, so Balor kicked him with both feet right in the face. Crews replied by kicking Balor right in the head and ascending to the middle rope, which then caused Finn to jump in the air and kick Crews in the head, sending him toppling to the arena floor. We went to commercial break at this point and came back with Finn Balor giving Apollo Crews the hardest knife-edge chop I have ever seen in my life. I think this show was taped about 2 weeks ago. If Apollo Crews told me that he was still feeling that chop, I would believe him. There's a chance that the people at the Impact Zone heard that chop. Apollo made his comeback, hit the Gorilla Press Slam, but Finn got his knees up when he went for the standing moonsault. Finn then hit the running dropkick in the corner and went for the coup de grace. However, Apollo rolled out of the way. Apollo kicked Finn in the face so hard it spun Finn right around. And while Finn had his back turned to Apollo, he figured, why not? And hit the Pele kick right to the top of Crews' head. With both men now laying in a heap, exhausted, the fans jumping up and down, jumping through the freaking roof at what they've been watching. Suddenly, Baron freaking Corbin runs in and attacks Apollo Crews for the disqualification. This caused a crap ton of heat from the audience because how dare Baron Corbin interfere and ruin this match. Now keep in mind, after they got over the fact that it was a disqualification, they went completely silent while Baron continued to attack both men. It was almost like they took the volume of the crowd and turned it off, because all of a sudden they went from loud as heck to completely quiet. That lasted for a few seconds until Samoa Joe ran in for what we thought was the save. Now, he never actually touched Baron because Baron just saw Joe and took off. And Joe stood there and stared at Baron. Now, Apollo was outside the ring. He was thrown out by Baron Corbin. The only one in the ring was Finn and Joe. And, of course, as I set this up, you can tell where I'm going with this. Finn stood up, and Joe took his head off with a clothesline. Samoa Joe turned heel here tonight after the main event, and the fans exploded as Joe pounded away on the NXT champion with stomps and punches. Joe was tearing his hair out while screaming at Finn. And as he placed Finn on the turnbuckles, Joe grabbed Finn's face and yelled, "I did this to you," before dropping him with the Muscle Buster. And the last thing Joe did was grab the NXT title belt and drop it on Finn's dead body before walking away. And so that was the end of the show. I should point out that Apollo Crews should give Tyler Breeze a phone call, because last year when Breeze became number one contender and got his title shot against Adrian Neville, that match ended in a disqualification when Tyson Kidd ran in and broke up the pin. And now, a year and a half later, Tyler Breeze never got his one-on-one rematch for the title. So let's hope Apollo gets a shot here or there between now and 2017. But in case he doesn't, I'll be here to talk about it. So until next week, when we find out why Joe why, this is Emerson. Take care. Adios. Bienvenido. So long. Are you still here? Go. It's over.
You're listening to Emerson Whitner's NXT Report on the Angry Marks Podcast Network.